We got into real estate when we were 23 years old. We did research and we found that Keller Williams had everything we wanted. We knew from the very start that we needed to follow a system. We did not want to reinvent the wheel, so we literally followed the MREA to the T. If you see our numbers year after year, we've doubled them, and I think that it's because we never got away from lead generating. We knew that we needed to have these contacts done every day in order to get to the next place. Just the same way that we have had to grow for our team, Keller Williams has continued to grow, and they've given us the platforms. Every year they revamp their systems and they create new opportunities for all of us. And it's very hard to find a brokerage that actually cares about your growth. It's all possible because we're in real estate and we can accomplish anything that we want as long as we set our minds to it.
I am fiercely independent, so I had no desire to join Keller Williams. All of a sudden, there was this, what they were calling a Northwest Region Mastermind, and they brought a lot of leaders from KW. It wasn't what I thought Keller was. It was a world of people who knew so much more than I did. So when I came in, and my pain was I was working too many hours. I literally was sleeping 1 to 4 hours a night. They were able to help me where I needed it. And they didn't force it upon me. They asked me, gosh, we see this and we want to help. And I could have figured it out eventually, but certainly not at that level, and certainly not without a lot more pain. We have some really important big rocks, some travel, family time, and bonding time that's non-negotiable. I couldn't figure out how to do that before coming to Keller. They were able to help me where I needed it. They just wanted to pour into me to let me be the best that I could be and my brand to be the best that it could be.
You have to begin by being rich and wealthy in your mind before you become rich and wealthy in life. The real purpose of financial wealth is for you to be able to finance your personal mission for your life. It's your freedom money.
Hey everybody, Gary McGowan here, and this is our June team meeting. Happy to see everyone. We have people jumping on YouTube. There's probably a bit close to 50 on right away. We know we're going to see a lot more. So different format for us, but we're going to have a lot of fun today. Lots of great things and guests lined up for today, and we got maybe a few surprises along the way too. I'm gonna bring on, before we really get things cracking here, Marv, I'm gonna bring you on screen here, so I'm giving you the heads up, to say hi to everybody and to get things cracking here. How you doing, Marv?
I'm awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
I'm using my Gary McGowan radio announcer voice. I'm excited about the meeting. We've got some really good stuff. This meeting is our last meeting until we resume again in September. And yeah, I think you've done a great job putting the meeting together, Gary. So thank you.
My pleasure. And yeah, like I said, we've got a lot of great stuff in tune for today, in line for today. And we should get going here. And as I said, we might have a few surprises drop in while the meeting's being taking place. So we're going to do that and get things cracking here. So just give me a moment and we will get the show underway. Yes, welcome to our team meeting. And as always, let's roll our little intro video here. All right. Very good, everybody. And yeah, lots of great things today. Assignments with Mark Morris. And one of the cool things, as we know, and we'll get into it in just a moment here, when we get connected with the right people, great things can happen. And as we'll get to an introduction with Mark in just a moment, but assignments is something that comes up in our brokers from time to time. And there's always a lot of questions around it and how to create the paperwork properly. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And more importantly, how to negotiate and what to negotiate for. So we're going to talk with Mark about that. Yes, tech-enabled agent, as always, Dylan with his segment. And we are really excited for his segment today, and where things, how things have come along over in Aurora, for instance, the last month or two. Coach's Corner with Jen. Jen's got, she's going to talk to us about our summer mindset and how to protect our mind as well as our time away from work and building that business up. So when you know, September rolls around or wherever you are in your business, you are ready to hit the ground running. Of course, we got our top award winners. Realtor safety, that's a topic that I don't think gets talked enough about. And Mary Furnell, she leads that charge with us at KWRC, and she's going to give us some great insight today, and maybe some things that perhaps you didn't know that we offer to keep our realtors safe while they're out showing homes and working with clients and so forth. Of course, we got our mortgage update with Charity, and we're always happy to have Charity with us and giving us kind of the laydown and the lowdown and the latest of the mortgage industry and so forth. And broker bits, yes, a little conversation around what to, you know, our inclusions in the property or the chattels, as well as grow ops. And we're seeing grow ops come back, and those homes are being listed and bought. And how do we protect not only the seller but the buyer with that discussion? So Marvin's going to talk to us a little bit about that. And of course, our industry stats, can never forget that. As well as I thought it would be appropriate to kind of talk to you about an investment analysis, how I quickly analyze properties. It'll be at a very high level, and we can certainly have a more in-depth discussion at a later date. But I'm going to share with you the pro forma that I have been using for really many years to analyze properties. It takes literally 5 minutes, and it's almost that first litmus test in order to, you know, you put in the numbers, and if you like what you see, and then you go a little bit farther. So that's how that we'll take a peek at that. Well, first up, we always love to welcome new people to KWRC, a great list here. Marv, I'm going to bring you on camera too, so you can also welcome them as well. Jenna, Arjen, Taylor, Tara, Jason, Robert, Kevin, Mojan, and Tony Real. Real pleasure to have you back with us, Tony. So thanks for meeting with us here and seeing KW as an opportunity to grow your business for sure.
It's awesome, Gary. 9 people joining last month, and I think we have quite a few this month as well, like maybe almost as many, I believe, right? So welcome to everybody. We really, truly, our goal is to make sure that everybody has an amazing experience with our company. We really do care, and welcome. I mean, yeah. That's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
And
People are
welcome back,
seeing
Tony,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
People are seeing KW as a great opportunity, and I gotta say too here, Marvin. While some of these agents found us, the majority here, our agents told them about KW, and that's what we love to hear and see because. When you have a great experience, you want to share that. So if KW is a great experience, share it with your colleagues for sure.
It's pretty, even Morgan Freeman is applauding. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Over and over again. He just can't stop.
He keeps texting me, like, keep this up. It's amazing. So good
Very
job.
good.
That's
Very
wonderful.
good. I'm going to leave you on screen for the next bit here too. This is really cool, Marvin. And we often talk about how our agents are doing absolutely amazing things in the community. And our very own Colin Campbell has been recognized by a number of different whether it's the town of Aurora or what have you, but most recently, Toronto Real Estate Board has recognized Colin in the leadership and the activity that he's doing in the community. And recently, Colin's been awarded the Community Service Award, and just outstanding for the work that he's been doing in the community alongside with the Superstore and generating, backpacks for families, and also most recently feeding families through the Superstore as well. So tremendous accomplishment for Colin and his team there.
Yeah, and you know what? That is an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations to you, Colin, and to everybody involved. And again, we want to hear about stories like this, right? We don't know unless you tell us. We're not the same as other real estate companies. And, we've set the bar really high for others, and that's a good thing. So if you're reaching out to the community, you're doing amazing initiatives like this, you're volunteering, we want to know about it, and we want others to know about it because it speaks to really the very culture of our company. So please continue to let Gary know as these things come up, and we would love to continue to recognize you as well. So.
Absolutely. And if you're unfamiliar with what Colin and his team did over the last couple of years, here's a short little 40-second video to kind of recap and highlight what Colin and the Campbell Real Estate team has been doing for the community.
So in 2020, we knew the community really needed a lot of help.
We went from having a goal of providing 150 families with meals with all the trimmings and the turkey and all that stuff. We ended up doing 300 dinners for the families.
Thanks to the Superstore, their partnership, and a lot of the efforts we saw in the community that wanted to just reach out and support. So for us, we are just building a team, and for us, real estate is more about just buying and selling real estate. Is how do we give back to the community that we live in? And our slogan is basically give where you live.
Very good. Very, very good. So, Marv, today's a big day. As I said, we'd have a few guests drop in, maybe some surprises along the way. And I couldn't be more happier, and I'm sure you couldn't be, to welcome back to the office, Christine Tonis, our broker of record.
Hey, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I'll officially be back Friday. But I did want to just drop in briefly. I have a physio appointment in a little bit, but I wanted to briefly drop by and say I'm super excited to be back and participating again. And I've missed you all.
You look great, Christine. Christine stopped by my office before the meeting. We went through the broker bits. She corrected all of my mistakes, gave me some additional stuff, and now we're good to go.
Yeah.
These are my last broker bits. I did 2, and then it's going to be back to you, Christine. It's awesome. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for giving me all the support during my recovery. That's again when family kicks in was during that time, and I can't be more grateful to the company and all the individuals who reached out to me.
Well, it was kind of bizarre because I saw this flash running back and forth outside of my office, Garrett, and next thing I know, it was Christine. Like, she's amazing how mobile you are and how you've recovered, and you look wonderful. So welcome back. We're happy to have you back. Thank you.
Very good. And yeah, great to have you back, Christine. And enjoy the rest until Friday, I guess it is. Bye for now. Very good. Well, as I said, you know, it's awesome when you get to meet amazing people and you get connected with great people. And our special guest today, Mark Morris. In fact, Colin Campbell was working on an assignment deal not too long ago, and you start making phone calls and wanting to talk to the right people, and he got connected with Mark, and with I think after the first phone call, he called me. He goes, "Gary, you will not believe the amount of information and support I got from Mark," and we thought it would be a fantastic idea to have Mark come on and share with us some insight around assignments and how to protect not only ourselves but our clients and of course use it and leverage it as part of our business. So without further ado, I'll have Mark come on. And Mark, it's a pleasure to have you, and I'm going to hand it right over to you, and you take it from here, my friend.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. You can all hear me well, I take it?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm hopeful that we can get Morgan Friedman just applauding me as I speak the whole time, because that's a real ego boost. That'd be lovely. And welcome to my basement. Thank you very much, guys. I'll keep it brief because I know that I have 10 minutes here to speak to you. But just briefly, in as long as I can take one breath and tell you who I am, I'm a lawyer, 20 years experience. I run the Ontario Legal Real Estate Forum online for Facebook. We have about 8,000 members, answer these types of legal questions all the time, and provide videos like this all the time. I'm also the broker of record for quite a few brokerages, a couple of Keller Williams as well, and it's a real privilege to be here. I thank you very much for the opportunity. Enough about me. Let's go on to assignments. So assignments seem to be almost a bit of a specialty for us these days, and one of the reasons that it is a specialty is because so few people really know how to do them, or if they know how to do them correctly. Assignments, really, the process is to be treated really a bit differently than the way your normal real estate process takes place. At least the agents I know that practice in the space practice it slightly differently. And I only have 10 minutes, and it's going to be hard to go into all of the tax advantages and how it is that things may be taxed and what the permutations of an agreement are. So I'm going to speak really very high level here. I'm going to talk about how you actually want to consummate an assignment agreement, because many people haven't done one, and even those people who have felt that it was a bit of a mess. How you can do it in an organized manner, and what it is you should be negotiating. And that should really take up our 10 minutes. And then those of you who are interested can hound Gary, and I'd be more than happy to come back and do the hour-long session on taxes and how HST plays in and everything else and all the other questions you may have. The be-all and end-all is that practically there should not be an assignment agreement that is signed absent, at the bare minimum, a condition on your solicitor's review. Most of you do that. But a smarter way of even doing the agreement is to receive an agreement, if you're the assignor, and bring it to the lawyer before you even bring it to your clients, such that we can preemptively review the terms of the agreement and make sure that everything is correct. Effectively, an assignment agreement, and just for those of you who are approaching it for the first time or even the second time, but you didn't have a good experience in the first one, really, there's a whole lot of clauses, there's a whole lot of tricks, but from the perspective of an agent who's negotiating an assignment agreement, really, you're negotiating exactly 3 points. You're negotiating how much in profit is to be paid, when the profit and when the initial deposit that has been paid to the builder is to be returned. And I guess lastly, who is, well, actually, I'm going to leave it, I guess there's the initial deposit, and then really there is the payment back of the builder's deposit, and then there's the profit and the determination as to when those last two items are paid, because the initial deposit is paid in the normal course within 24 hours pursuant to the terms of the agreement. And really, that's all you need to negotiate. Those are the fundamental terms. A lot of agents who approach this for the first time get quite confused. They get quite confused because when they look at the agreement seems very similar to the Form 100 or the Form 101. The Form 150 and the 145 is what I'm talking about. For those of you who are new to the space, Form 145 is for freehold assignments, Form 150 is for condo assignments. But most people who look at the condo assignment form, because that's primarily what you're going to be dealing with, the Form 150, it's a bit tricky because you look at it, you're like, I'm familiar with this form. I know most of the clauses there. But when you look a bit deeper, you note that there's no closing date. And there is this mathematical ledger in Schedule B, and how you actually put that all together is very confusing and is very different than the Form 100 and 101, which you're quite used to. To keep things straight, really what you need to keep in line and remember is that you're negotiating, as I say, three things. You're negotiating the initial deposit. Easy. You know how to do that. You do that all the time for Form 100 and for Form 101. Then you'll note on Schedule B, and I wish I had Schedule B here, but again, this is a 10-minute thing, so I'm going to be very quick. On Schedule B, between line 3 and line 4, there's something that says that the initial deposit paid to the builder is to be paid back as follows. There's an actual line for that in Schedule B of Form 150. And you have to negotiate when the initial deposit paid to the builder by the assignor being the seller, just for those of you who are unfamiliar with the terms, is to be paid back. And for most people, it is to be paid back at the time that the builder provides consent to the assignment agreement. And then there is the payment of the profit. And when the payment of the profit is to be paid, in the normal course, is on final closing, but it can be adjusted pursuant to Schedule A. And those are the only parts that you as an agent are really negotiating. And because those are the only components that you're negotiating, taking on an assignment should not be intimidating if you have someone who is able to walk you through the process on the back end. That is to say, if you come to a lawyer like myself and say, Mark, here's the deal. They pay my clients, let's say we're acting for the assignor, the seller. My clients paid $400,000. We want to sell it for $500,000. They're ready to give us a $25,000 deposit, and they're ready to pay the full amount, the deposits we paid, $100,000 plus $100,000 in profit. They're ready to pay that all once the builder provides consent. Help me structure the agreement. Well, that's the job of a lawyer. And that's the job also of senior real estate agents who are familiar with the space. I spend a good deal of my weekly time going over with people who are dealing with assignments, who want to understand how to structure the deal that they have struck, because they've negotiated the three prime points, the only points that matter, and then everything else becomes legalese and then falls within the purview of a lawyer. So as an example, I've had several people come to me this week and say, Mark, the assignee has brought me an offer. Can we review this together? Can we go over it? Here's the terms that I've negotiated. Again, the three terms we've talked about. What are the deposits? When are the deposits that have been paid to the builder being returned? And when is the profit being paid? And how much is that profit? And then I structure the agreement as a whole. Quite a few clients have questions with regards to the taxation of assignments as you go through it, and how HST may play into the agreement for the assignor. And that becomes a bit more complex, but again, is still something that a lawyer should be able to explain to you, and you should be able in turn to explain to your clients. Preemptively visiting a lawyer before you visit your client, once you have an offer in hand, is highly advisable. And the reason it's highly advisable is because so often we get agreements signed by both the assignor and assignee with the assistance of an agent, and the agent really doesn't know what they're doing. And so they make it conditional upon solicitor review, which is fine. But what happens at that point is that the solicitor then has to substantially change the agreement, and we have to go back to the client and show them all the revisions. And it makes an agent look less than professional when what you're seeking to do is, of course, appear professional from the outset. That's the reason that I suggest the former approach, which really is get your agreements in hand and come to a lawyer. Or if you're acting for the assignee, because it's usually the assignee that brings the offer. It's usually the buyer that brings the offer, similar to the Form 100 and 101. If you're acting for the assignee, come visit a lawyer who knows what they're doing and help them and allow them to structure the agreement such that that agreement itself is perfect when it makes its way over to the assignor. Now, to be clear, the stages of what happens at the lawyer's office is also something I should just briefly touch upon, because understanding this will help you understand how to structure your agreement and negotiate the 3 points that we've talked about so far. After an agreement is struck between an assignor and an assignee, between a buyer and a seller, it is not just immediately valid. It's valid as between the assignor and the assignee, but all agreements will be conditional upon the builder providing approval. And the approval that the builder provides, that is to say the original vendor, is one that requires a three-way agreement between the assignor, the assignee, and the vendor. And it is only when that agreement is signed that the actual assignment is given valid force and effect, and the assignee becomes the new purchaser under the property. It's the assignor's lawyer's job to obtain that consent, and that is part and parcel of the process that a lawyer should be explaining to you as these initial offers come in. So again, I know I have 10 minutes here, so I'm a bit prescribed, and I'm speaking very quickly here. But I would tell you that I have done hour-long courses on assignments and on the taxation of assignments and how this all works, and it's all on our forum as well. So if you visit us at the Ontario Real Estate Legal Discussion Group forum and Facebook, you can add yourself. You're all realtors, so you will be granted entry. And then you can search under video sessions, assignments. Video sessions is a hashtag. And you'll see quite a few of our videos of subject where we go through in detail, line by line, how it is we do things, the clauses that we suggest, and how the taxation of an assignment actually works. From your perspective, given that there's 10 minutes, I would strongly suggest that you tackle assignments without fear or trepidation, but that you do so intelligently by either bringing your agreement that you're planning on bringing over to the assignor for pre-clearance, or when an assignee brings you an offer, to bring it on over to a lawyer so that they can help you structure the response, and so that you know how it is you can bring it to your clients and sound intelligent at the same time, such that you appear like the expert that you want to appear as for every real estate transaction that you touch. So I think that's probably where I would leave things here, just given time constraint. But I know that we had spoken, I believe, Gary, about possibly coming back and speaking in detail, so that it's not just a broad stroke, but rather detailed analysis of how this takes place. And if in fact there's demand for that, it would be my definite pleasure. There's quite a few agents that are on this channel who I've operated with in the past over the course of my history. Every single one of them that I see here are people who I tremendously respect. And the opportunity to actually have further discussions, detailed discussions, is something I would look forward to tremendously.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for that, that high level view. And I know within 10 minutes, it's tough to get into the details, but it also expresses and maybe exposes how difficult they can be when you don't have the right tools or people in place to lean on or leverage in this case. And that's something that we always talk about is, having the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people. So when an opportunity does jump up, you, as Mark said, you do not need to be afraid of it. With
Totally.
People like Mark. Exactly. And yes, Mark, absolutely. I was not aware of this Facebook group until yesterday, and I jumped right into it with Mark's guidance. And yeah, I got to tell you, the amount of resources and information there was amazing. So I do recommend, if you're watching with us this afternoon, jump into that Facebook group. What's the name of it again, Mark?
I'll type it into the chat, but it's the Ontario, I always forget the name. You think I would know my own group name, but I don't. Ontario Real Estate Legal Discussion Group. There we go. That's it.
Very
I'm
good.
putting it in now.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. And do reach out to Mark. The name is right there, hit the website name. You can always get his contact information there. And yes, we will be looking to host an assignment session in the fall, likely in September. And we'll have Mark host that, where we can get more detail, more information, and equip us with the right information. So Mark, thank you for your time this afternoon, your expertise, and do reach out to Mark. And I wish you all the best and have a great summer, Mark.
Wonderful. Guys, thank you so much for the opportunity. I have think of Keller Williams with the highest regard, and you guys, I must say, this is, of the whole year, this is the most professional run or Zoom call that I've been a part of. So way to go on that. Congratulations.
Very good. Thanks for your time again, Mark. All the best to you.
Take care.
Very good. Yeah, do reach out to him, and let's see if I can put it right in the comments here while we're talking away. Paste. There we go. So that should be in the YouTube comments coming shortly. There we have it. That's the Facebook group right there. And do connect that way with Mark as well. So fantastic. All right, my friends. So we are going to, what are we doing next? This is the fun bit. So we're going to do a lot of great things in the next couple of minutes. You're talk about equipping. This is the fun stuff. So we're gonna go live on location with Dylan Silvernagel. Dylan, are you with us?
I'm here. Yeah, I hope it's coming through okay. We are doing this live from a cell phone, so we're here in the Aurora office. As you can see, the kitchen. I'm going to take you on a live tour of our studio today. So just follow me real quick.
Amazing.
In the boardroom today, we've got the Campbell team. And then we've got John Brock and Partners. And we come down the hall, show you to our very own KWRC studios. Again, why don't you head on in there. So this is our studio that we've been working on. Set up all the professional equipment you need to make any live videos, podcasts, streaming, anything like that. You can do that all in this room. We have professional lighting, 1, 2, and then another one behind. Don't worry about going up to that one, Jen. We've got a ring light here, professional grade, with a spot to mount your phone to record all your videos. As you can see on the walls, we have sound dampening, I forget what they're called, but it's there to make sure that your audio is really good so that there's not a huge echo bouncing around. And on the note of audio, we also have these amazing microphones, same ones that Gary's using pretty much. Also with plug and play USB ends here, so that you can just plug that straight into your laptop if you want to do a long form podcast, stuff that you've seen Gary doing with Jen on KWRC TV, or the stuff that Gary and Colin do together on the Black and White podcast. All their same stuff is basically what we provided for you here in the studio. And if you turn around, Jen, we've got 2 backdrops that you can choose from right away. So we have a white one, and we've got a green screen at the back as well. And that white one, if you look over here at this light, Jen, this lamp here, you can set up in different ways so it'll light the backdrop, and you can change it to any color you like. You can use a KW red, or you can switch to your brand colors, or a color that you want just for the theme of whatever your video may be. And speaking of the green screen, in terms of videos that you can make, I was in here today shooting an intro video that I'm going to put on the free videos that Mary Furnell provides for us every month. So there's all these free social media videos that our brokerage is providing for us that we can use and brand to ourselves. So I came into the studio, filmed a nice little intro that I'm going to put on the front, and then when we send that out to the database, it's going to look like it's our video. So that's basically the studio. I can share some of the stuff that's been going on so far. We've had the 4 coaches for the productivity coaching. We're in here yesterday shooting promotional videos for a free coaching night that we're going to do to attract more talent to the brokerage. We've also had people in here inquiring about doing their very own podcasts, and a number of people already creating videos in the room. And I know that I've actually seen Colin Campbell himself in here using it to do some Zoom interviews and podcasts and stuff like that as well. So Gary, that's the room.
That is amazing. And right behind you on the desk, there's tripods there, all sorts of stuff. And Dylan, so here's the $1 million question, if you will. How do I book the room?
It's very simple. You can either call the front desk, or if you're in the office, go to the front desk and you just say you want to book the room, same as you would the conference or boardroom or the closing rooms. You provide your car keys, and in turn, you get the key to the studio as well as the microphones that you can plug into your cell phone.
That's right. So not only are there microphones for your computers, but we do have microphones that plug into your iPhone, and for those few, the Android, but they're all there.
Absolutely. They're the very nice, like professional looking lapel mics that you just snap onto your shirt.
Fantastic. And yeah, we've been hosting a lot of stuff in there. And I love that you said you're in there with the green screen earlier, working on some of your material for the videos that Mary produces and helps promote for us. As soon as you said that, I saw a big smile on Mary's face. This is what the room should be used for, a number of different things. And I know if you've been watching KWRC TV over the last couple of weeks, that's where Jen has been hosting her side of it. And just sits down, plug and play, make it really easy. The whole idea here, right, Dylan, is we want people to use it, obviously, and it's sometimes you just got to hit record. So you can walk in with your phone, turn on the lights, and hit record. And as you get used to it, you can tailor it to your needs. But really, it's turning on a few lights with a remote, and you're set to go. And we are really, really excited and really, really interested to see what content comes out of this, right, Dylan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny, when Mike and I were talking about putting this thing together with you, one of the hurdles that we always talked about was, like, before, when we wanted to start doing this stuff, is there's so much equipment that you have to buy to get going if you wanted to have a certain amount of polish to it. And all of that's provided here for you right in this room. You just need to come in, plug in, and start using it.
Absolutely. Well, Dylan, thanks for the tour. And of course, I'm not saying this out loud, so you don't listen to this. If you need a little bit of guidance and so forth, yes, Dylan and Mike, obviously they're out of the Aurora office. Ask them, and they're happy to help you to get set up. But really, it may only take 5 minutes. That's how easy it is. And I know Colin's not listening at this moment. So if Colin can use it, we all can do it.
That's very true. And honestly, Mike and I are happy to help you get started with it. We really want you guys to be using this room. I think our office and our brokerage goal, just in general, is to help serve you guys at the highest level so you can serve your clients at the highest level. And really, that's what it's all about. So we're happy to help in any way that we can.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Dylan. And I know you and Mike and Jen and others did a little promo video, and I'm gonna share that video now, and then we'll have Jen come on and talk about some coaching in just a moment. So thanks for everything you're doing there, my friend. Thank you. All right. Well, as said, Dylan put together a little promo video and some ideas of what you could be doing with the studio. So let's take a peek at that. And of course, there's the assignments with Mark, but let's take a little peek at the video here. And it's pretty cool what they were able to put together.
Welcome to KWRC Studios.
There you go, my friends. What will you create? As Mike asked there. Yes, we are excited about that. And I know when we were up perhaps last month talking about it, and as I invite Jen to come on screen with us, one of the questions you asked, Jen, was, if you're in my coaching program or you're in our coaching program, you will be in that studio, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's expected now. We've got the tools, you've got the capability, so there's no reason that you shouldn't be promoting yourselves on social media and online into your database regularly at this point.
Absolutely. So we thought it would be great to talk about, our mindset going into summer from, our business perspective, but also, our lives and taking care of, ourselves and our families and so forth. So Jen, I'm going to hand it right over to you, and it's all yours.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, so one of the topics that Gary and I have been talking about, and we thought we could do a little coaching on today, was that summer mindset, right? The good weather is here. People are at the cottage and doing all sorts of things, and life seems to slowly be getting back to normal. And a lot of agents at this time of year, kind of check out from their business. And what that means when you do that is you're going to feel the results of that in your fall business. And that's what we don't want to have happen, which is why we want to have this conversation. So just a couple of tips and pointers on what you can do now, even with a minimal schedule, to make sure that your business stays on track for when that fall market kicks in. And I know for some people, you're still experiencing a busy summer market. So keep going, right? Ride that momentum. But for those of you that want to pull back a little bit and want to check out, we've got to talk about your schedule and what you're focusing on, because the reality of the conversation is that you don't have to work a lot of hours. You just have to do the right things. And what I mean by that is, what are your priority activities in your day? What are your money-making activities? How are you spending your time? And what you should be doing realistically is, if you want to work a 4-hour day and then have the rest of the day to go enjoy the weather and be outside and all that stuff, absolutely go for it. We get like 3 months of nice weather in Canada, so take advantage of it. But you do need to make sure that in those 4 hours that you're working, that you're talking to your database, that you're doing whatever active lead generation needs to happen. You're doing your lead follow-ups, and you're putting your systems in place and your schedule in place for when you get back for the fall. So one of the best things you can do is make a priority list. What needs to happen now so that you can take the time off? You can enjoy that time guilt-free as much as we can be as entrepreneurs, and you can come back in the fall with a business that's still running. So having some systems in place, having some accountability behind what your priority actions are, and just making sure that when you are focused and you are working, that you're having the right conversations and that you're setting yourself up for success, right? So one of the things we say all the time in coaching and all the time in real estate is, if your business isn't where you want it to be, it's because you're not talking to enough people. It's a very simple analogy, and it's a very simple mindset. If you talk to enough people every day, the results will show up in your business. As it takes 3 months, 6 months, sometimes 9 months for that business to convert, and sometimes longer, depending on when your leads come from, it's important, it's imperative that you don't shut down your shop 100% at this point, right? So keep that mindset purposeful. Keep it focused, keep it strategic, and then still go and enjoy the time that you have for those summer months, right? So how are you showing up every day in your business? And more importantly, why are you showing up? What's the purpose of working? If you're working just to be busy and be in the office, you're probably not doing the right actions. And a lot of the time, one of the biggest challenges most agents have is we see them spend a lot of time doing the wrong things. And often that's because they just don't know what the right things are. The right things are having conversations with people every single day about real estate. If that's the only thing you do, you're going to have a very successful second half of the year. So that is a little tip on summer mindset. And I hope that was helpful to everybody. And I actually, Gary, want to jump to another slide, if that's okay, because we have a pretty cool announcement coming up. And we've been talking, Marvin and Gary and Christine and myself, and trying to figure out how we can provide more support to our coaching program, and always looking to grow and always looking to innovate and do things at a higher level to make sure that everyone is taken care of. So something that we're going to be rolling out in the coaching program with our 4 coaches over the next month or so is the productivity coaching hotline. So structured following the success of the broker hotline. If you're going to be in coaching or you are in coaching, this is a hotline that's going to ring to all of the coaches at the same time. You can get support on your offers. You can get your questions answered about your clauses, about any challenges you're having, marketing questions, how to handle clients, anything that's not RICO or broker related, we will cover on the PC hotline. So really excited to innovate and continue to grow and continue to make our program just stronger and better and more supportive for you as the agents, because at the end of the day, that is what it's really all about. And that hotline is for anybody in coaching, whether you're a brand new agent or you're one of our advanced or team leader agents, if you need some support with your business that way. And finally, before I jump off, I just wanted to kind of end my segment with a little bit of gratitude. We have an amazing team at our brokerage, from the leadership to all of the agents that are here with us. And one of the things that I don't get to say often enough and in a public forum is that, the coaching team that we've been able to build over the last few months with Stevie and Dylan and Steph and myself, and hopefully growing as we continue to grow as a brokerage, I'm just so grateful to the coaches for how they show up every day, how much they care about the agents and their business, how much time they pour into the agents and the support that they provide. It lets us build the coaching program to the level that we're able to. And as you can see, we're continuing to keep trying to grow it. And the support from the brokerage to provide this for the agents, it's just phenomenal. And I just wanted to shout out to Stevie and Dylan and stuff and just, say thank you for being so awesome and stepping up and just living in your passion. It's a game changer for all of us. And I'm very lucky.
That's amazing, Jen. Well said. And I think I'm going to, if it's okay with you, I'm going to leave you on for this next segment as we get to honor our agents with capping and the awards. And likewise, Marvin, I'm going to bring you on screen too, because this is that time where we do get to honor our agents and celebrate their success. And again, their success is our success. So without our agents, pulling together, and I can tell you this, we said we would have some pretty cool news about the brokerage. We are trending for this June, Marvin, to have our best month ever with closings.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Outstanding.
That is amazing. Who would have thought even last year, we had a banner year last year where we broke every record in COVID. Right. And then this year, we're way ahead of last year, which was our record-breaking year. And I think that speaks to everything, to, the fortitude and dedication of our realtors, leadership team, staff, coaching, all of you. I mean, very commendable. So congratulations to everybody. You deserve it because you are doing more to reinvest in your businesses than others. And it's showing. So congratulations to everyone.
Awesome. Well, with that said, let's honor our most recent cappers, and a lot of names this month, and we're really excited for that. So Jim Booten, John Brock, Katie Christian, Mike Davenport with Seem Jera, Haley MacArthur, Steve Paroff, and Megan Waller. Congratulations to you on capping. Fantastic. Okay. So let's celebrate some of the top achievers over the last month, and this has been pretty awesome. We always love celebrating the first, right? And these are the agents that are celebrating their first listing, which is Daniel Heppensteel, Dwight DeMitto, Josh Carducci, and Terrace. Congratulations to you. And in a month or sooner or a couple of months, you'll be on the other side of the sheet there or the page there. And this month we get to celebrate Stacy Nixon with her first closing.
Yes.
Congratulations. Very good. Now moving forward, we're going to celebrate our top 10 individuals in the month of May. This is for, that should say closed units, Wasim Jera, Paul Ireland, Andrew Bolton, Caesar, Angela, Vincent, Sean, Stuart, Kirby, and Michael. Congratulations for top 10 and closed units is what it should say there. Very good. That's exciting. And the next slide, all my slides got moved over somehow. This is not 10 business, but written business. This is written business for the month of May. Wayne Clements, Tana, Stephanie, John, Christina, Jonathan, Paul, Stuart, Marion, and Frank. Absolutely fantastic. And again, we always say this, the business that you write today is going to show up, 45 days or so. So we look forward to having you on this for the next month or two here. So congratulations. Moving into our teams, again, closed units for the month of May, the Terry Hastings team, Volpe Alcorn team, the Paroff team, Blaha Booten team, Michael Tuff team, and one of our newest teams moving up the ladder, the Michelle Terz's team. So congratulations to you there. And for our written business, the Terry Hastings team, Volpe Alcorn team, Paroff team, and there was the Michelle Terz's team, Melissa Taylor team, and the Campbell Real Estate team. Congratulations to you. Fantastic stuff. As we said, we are having our best month ever pretty much in closings, and we're seeing some tremendously huge numbers, not only from these agents, but from all of our brokerage. And Marv's got some information a little bit later that we're going going to celebrate from a market standpoint. That is incredible as well. So congratulations to everyone there. Awesome. Very good. Very, very good. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Marv and Jen for just a moment, and we're going to bring on Mary. And it's nice to have Mary in a couple of different capacities, obviously from a marketing perspective, but also her passion around the safety of our realtors. And I'm going to hand it right over to you, Mary. And so thank you so much for taking on this initiative.
No problem. It's my pleasure. So what I wanted to talk about realtor safety today is, first of all, we've got so many new agents who've joined us. And if you haven't had the opportunity to take the realtor safety course, we're running it in July on the 22nd. We're going to do it online, I believe, probably both, but anyway. Please take the course. It's 2 hours of really well invested time to make sure that you make it home every day to your families safe. We've all heard all kinds of stories of what can happen when you're out in in precarious situations, sometimes with people that you don't know. So we want to make sure that you're safe. What I do want to talk about today is a program that we have set up within the brokerage called the Red File. So this is a system that's been set up to protect our realtors in case you are meeting with clients that you don't know. Our safety best practice is if you are meeting with clients for the first time that you don't know, that you meet with them in our office so that you can vet them and make sure that they literally are who they say they are. What happens if you don't do that? You can find yourself alone, in a remote location with people that you don't know who have nefarious plans for you. So we want to avoid that happening. So if for some reason you can't actually meet with the new clients in our office, or if you are hosting an open house when we're allowed to do that again, we do have a safety feature that's been set up. So it puts the onus on the actual realtor. So you would need to provide the office ahead of time, the location that you're going to be, and the time that you are going to be there. So we literally need the physical address as well as the times that you're going to be there. And if you run into an issue, say at your open house at a property that you're showing, what you can do is excuse yourself. If you're feeling uncomfortable or something's going on that you're not comfortable with, you would phone into tell the people that you're with, I've forgotten something at the office. I need to call and have them send the information. So this isn't going to set off any kind of issue with the person that you're talking to. You call into the office and ask them, obviously tell them who you are, and say, can you please send me the Red File? So this is going to tip off to whoever answers the phone, doesn't matter what office, what location, it will tip them off to send 911 to your location to help you, right? So if you haven't ahead of time set up your exact location and where you are, and preferably who you're with, they won't be able to help you. But if you actually call and ask for the Red File, that's going to be a signal to any call coordinator to call 911 and send them to your location and hopefully get you out of a situation. So that is essentially the Red File system. And you will also, if you come to the Realtor Safety course, find out a whole bunch of other information to help keep you safe. Garrett, can't hear you.
Thank you. I was
Okay.
muted. Yeah, no, thank you for leading that. And as you said, we have a lot of agents that have joined us, most likely since we've held a realtor safety course. And it's so important that we're staying connected with our agents, but we're also, we're creating an environment where it is a safe working environment. And sometimes as realtors, we don't think like that. And it is important that we do, because we have had instances, even in the past number of months, where something like this certainly allowed our agent to feel 100% more comfortable in this certain situation. So, do take advantage of any sort of realtor safety training that we have coming forward. And of course, all of our call coordinators are very up to speed and up to date of when that call comes in and when the agent is asking for that red file of what to do. So thanks for leading that, Mary.
No problem.
Very good. Very good. Well, moving right along, as always, every month, we love having Charity come on and share with us, the latest mortgage update and news and so forth. And I'm going to bring Charity and her team on right now. Hi, Charity. How are you?
Hi, Gary. I'm good. Great. We're actually great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So, I always like to ask you, what's new in the mortgage industry? And I don't know, maybe this is a good thing, Charity, because you said, well, actually not too much this month. And maybe that's a good thing, Charity.
Yeah, well, I will start actually with a statistic that has come out that kind of goes in line with how well Keller Williams doing with these record-breaking numbers. Research is showing that with Equifax has said that the Canadian debt profile has now changed with Canadian consumers, and that most of it is now accounting for mortgages. So 41.2%, we've seen an increase in mortgages since last year. So mortgages are up that high, as well as 60% increase in home equity lines of credit just from last year. So that tells us that we are doing lots of business. There's lots of mortgages to be had. And with this line of credit, the increase 60% from last year, as you know, as an investor, we've talked about many times using these lines of credits to refinance, to create money to buy more properties. So the numbers are showing that that's actually what we are doing, and it is happening.
That's really interesting. And we always talk about, good debt, bad debt, what is the difference and so forth. And I know we're a little biased being realtors, but this to me is good debt, right?
Yes,
it's not
absolutely.
Like that debt service ratio is not going to the credit cards, for instance. It's going
for sure.
to, secure investments or assets, perhaps I should say, in the real estate. So that's really, really interesting.
And part of our consultation when we meet with new clients that do have an existing home that have a significant amount of equity is we do show this type of scenario and sort of plant the seed for them in case that was not a thought for them, to give them that option to look forward to possibly doing that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Really, really good. Now, talk to us a little bit. One of the things you did mention was, of course, we've just gone through tax season, right? And what does that normally initiate from the lenders or the underwriters?
Yeah, so that is a point. Now that tax season is over, what they're doing is they're kind of adding all these new conditions to look at the income tax. The reason they do that, one, I think, is to help the government make sure that the taxes are being filed. And two, because of COVID and the discrepancies in some of the income that we're using to qualify, they want to see what the real income was, not just the job letter pay stub of the last couple of weeks that we're providing. And so within that, they are asking for sometimes the whole tax return, as well as the notice of assessment. To prepare for this change now, with this season of tax season, we have partnered with an accounting firm that for a very small fee, they do have access. Obviously, the client gives us permission, and they can go right in and get your most recent tax returns up to 3 years, including all your T4s. So for our clients that have a hard time with paperwork, organizing it, finding it, getting a hold of it, it's a very easy system that we have now partnered to have in place to help clients get that information and get it to us quickly.
That's amazing. That's really fantastic. And when you say, their entire tax return, for instance, because I know, and in my experience too, as a borrower, they did want everything, right? And it's really up to us, you guys, to educate our clients. Don't be annoyed at what they're asking for.
Right.
Just be prepared, right?
Absolutely. And again, our motto too is we do try to get as much as possible, but sometimes, again, usually at near the end of the year or January, February, underwriting's a little bit easier. They will just look at the job letter, a couple pay stubs, maybe a month's bank statements, but just because it happens to be that time of year, the lenders on almost every file, they're asking for this additional paperwork that they maybe didn't need. And I think, again, because of COVID and there were some CERB payments and things that people collected here and there, they want to see how much of that really accounted for the income that we may be trying to use to qualify the deals.
Very good. Very good. And talk to us a little bit about some of the products or the rates out there. And I promised that I wouldn't use B lenders again. I'll use mono lenders. What does that look like? And some of the products that's available to our clients.
Yeah, so the lending products are great right now. As you know, rates are historically low. They've never been lower. So there's tough competition in terms of getting the rates. The lenders are willing to drop the rates. We're still getting under 1.5% on insured deals. For the self-employed, we are using a 3-year average for some of the clients. Purchase plus improvements, always a great one where we're looking to get into a house that maybe needs some improvements. So we have been writing some of those, helping clients that maybe can't afford their dream home, but buying a lower purchase home that may need some work done. We can work the cost of some of the renovations into the mortgage. And again, carrying that debt at 1.5% versus a home equity loan to do a home improvement, which might be much higher.
Yeah. 1.5%. That is amazing. That is so cheap, my friends. So cheap. No, that's fantastic. And again, Charity, I'm gonna add. Let me bring up your contact info here. This is always the best way to get a hold of you. Correct?
That is correct.
And doesn't matter if you're in our brokers in Newmarket, Keswick, or out in Owen Sound and Wyerton area, anywhere in Ontario, as a matter of fact, you can support and help our clients. Yes.
Yes, and actually one last point to point to that, we've also created a system within my business now where we have a portal for each individual client that gets sent to them that makes it very easy where they can just open the email and click and add all the documents right there for them. They go in, they can reference back to it. So it makes it so easy and fast, it's secure, it's safe to make it, our process, one, faster, and two, more effective in being able to work with people that might happen to be all over the place and not have access to some of the technology.
That's great. So are you saying that no longer are you getting 20, 30 emails and one attachment each? It's just one portal, one folder, everything gets saved to? How great is that?
That's right. Yeah, that's what we've started, and it's wonderful. It makes it so much easier for the clients because it's like it creates a checklist as well. So they see what they've uploaded, see what they haven't, so they can keep track. And for us, we can keep track because, again, we log into their name and it's all right there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I know many of our agents are using you, Charity, and their clients. And of course, Stephanie Sauvé, Charity has been amazing to work with. And that's absolutely fantastic. Use Charity, reach out to her and her team so she can help educate you. And more importantly, so together, you can educate your clients on what's, how best to serve them, whether it's buying investment property or unlocking a home equity line of credit or buying that next house. Charity, thank you so much for everything that you do, and reach out to her, as I said, and we'll see you on the next team meeting, Charity. Thank you.
You're welcome, Gary, and thank you guys. I really appreciate all the support.
Very good. Very, very good. All right, Marvin, we're going to move into the broker bits, and I'm going to hand it right over to you. And you sent me some information yesterday, and we had a good talk about it. And I was, again, and Jen and I talk about this on KWRC TV too. Sometimes as realtors, whether you've been in the business a year or 30 years, sometimes you take a lot of things for granted, and maybe you forget some things. And some of the stuff Marv showed me yesterday, perhaps I hadn't seen before, or again, I had forgotten about it. So it's good to go through stuff like this. All yours, Marv.
Well, thank you. And great job, Charity. That was awesome. And I really enjoyed the assignment piece for Mark. It was great. It's been an awesome meeting. So let's get right to it. And I hope I do Christine well by my version of the broker bits. By the way, this is my first time seeing the slides. This is awesome. So the first thing we're going to talk about is inclusions. And it's a great illustration. It shows a really nice fridge and stove and dishwasher. And the question really for everybody is, how carefully do you check your inclusions list when you're listing a property? Do you go by what the seller tells you, or do you actually take the time to confirm what's in the property? Let's continue. So same question holds true for when you're representing a buyer. Do you just walk through the property, and then if they decide that they want to buy it, you just refer to the information on the listing? Or are you actually taking your time to be on point about making an itemized list of what's included? So let's keep going through this and you'll see where we're going with it. So inclusions when listing a property. So I would highly recommend, if you don't have one, that you devise a form, and maybe you put your business logo on it or something like that in conjunction with ours. And that form should ask the seller to itemize a list of all the chattels that are included with the property before you take the listing. So it would be an amazing checklist for you to have. It will also differentiate you from other realtors that don't take the time to do something like that. It's much more professional. And of course, it gives you a paper trail, right? Or an electronic trail. So the other thing is, if you even do have a form, does your form go further to inquire as to whether or not the chattels being included are in good working order? We see that clause all the time. We often skim over it with our clients. Everything's working, yeah. But again, if this comes down at a later time, a year or two after closing, to some kind of court case or arbitration, having this kind of information in a file or electronically maintained is going to make all the difference in the world. So ask the question, okay, we're including this. Are they in good working order to the best of your knowledge and belief? Yes, great. Initial, sign, all that stuff. This comes up all the time, where people, include certain things that are actually not owned. Sometimes things are on a lease to own, especially a furnace. So a lot of the builders, in these newer products being offered, there's furnaces that are leased to own, or people go out and they have to replace their furnace and they don't have the money, or their air conditioner, all of these sorts of items, and they end up doing a lease with Enbridge or one of these other entities. So the form should also inquire if the chattels or fixtures, for that matter, are leased or rented, or rent to own. Very important. Let's go on to the next one. So when do you fill it out? And do the sellers sign it before completing it? So what we're referring to here is the listing data sheet. I know you guys are doing it, some of you. You'll have the listing data sheet. In the interest of time, you'll say just initial or sign, and we'll fill out all the stuff, information afterwards, and we'll send it to you. I'm telling you, time and time again, at arbitration, or even in court, if it gets that severe, that question gets asked. And it gets brought to the forefront of the conversation. When did you sign this? And how was it explained to you before you did? So I'm letting you know, I know you're out there doing it. I get it. I know what happens. You get busy and you say, I'm going to go back to my office and compose it and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that that form is filled out. Either it's filled out, you go back to them if you have to do that, but have them initial and sign the form after you've reviewed it with them. It will make a huge difference in terms of protecting you against liability.
And also, Marv, if I may, with now that the majority of all the paperwork we're signing typically is done through AuthentiSign. Sure. So how easy is it just to click as the signer, right? Mm-hmm. And you haven't taken the time to read it and to validate that information is correct.
It's a great point. So from last meeting, we talked about the importance of following up a conversation with an email. And that would be the same if you did something by AuthentiSign. Thanks for taking the time to sign your listing documentation on AuthentiSign. And again, just want to confirm that you fully understand, blah, 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 blah. That's all you need, right? So let's continue. So now we're going to talk about the agreement of purchase and sale. So now the offer comes in. And the question is, when you're reviewing this offer, if you're representing the seller, do you carefully review the chattels list with the seller? So often it's listed in there that these items are included. Do you skim over it? Or do you actually go point by point with the seller and confirm that those items are being included with the property? And you'll see where I'm going with this in a moment. So I find that often in multiple offers and all this kind of stuff that we've been experiencing, this kind of gets skimmed over. And it's very important that it doesn't, because I can tell you these mistakes inevitably always fall back on you, the realtor, right? So when representing the buyer, same thing. And this is really important. You need to protect your buyers. So the question is, do you just go by whatever it says on the MLS or exclusive listing? Or do you really take your time to walk through the property and itemize the chattels and or fixtures that are being included with the property? So my recommendation is, once a buyer has indicated to you that they want to buy the property, you should walk through with them room by room and make an itemized list and call it out. And not just an itemized list, but an itemized list by brand name. You could even go to the extent of model numbers. So when you're in the kitchen, you would say something like, as you can see, I've itemized that we got a stainless steel Frigidaire fridge, a Maytag built-in dishwasher, and so on and so forth. Not just existing fridge, stove, washer, dryer, right? And if you point out to the buyer that not every realtor is going to go to this extent, they're not going to take the time to be this precise and protect them, I guarantee you it's going to lead to not only a happy buyer, but to referral business as well. So it's really important. And it's the same thing. When you're reviewing the APS, carefully review the list that you put in the agreement and how it is cross-referenced to the notes you made when you were in the home with the buyer. They are gonna love it. That's what you gotta do. A big one is bathroom mirrors. You know, those free hanging mirrors in powder rooms. That's something that often gets overlooked, and then they come back to you and you're buying a mirror, right? So just an example of what you should do when you're representing the buyer in the house. Okay. So record your notes and confirm with your clients. So oversights can be costly. Here's a real situation that happened this month. So one of our realtors, and a good realtor, took the seller at face value for what was included. An offer came in on a property. It included, the listing, first of all, included central air conditioning. The offer came in on the property, included central air conditioning. I guess the process moved kind of quickly. Anyways, one of our realtors had the amazing, distinct privilege of buying a brand new air conditioner this month for someone. And that's because the listing wasn't carefully checked and the agreement wasn't carefully checked against what was actually there. So here's the thing. The precautions that we talked about are going to save you money. There's no way I could get our realtor out of that situation. And as I explained, if this were to ever go to court, which is an extreme example, maybe in the best case scenario, a judge would say, okay, listing realtors 2/3 responsible, buying realtors 1/3 responsible because they're representing the buyer. Maybe, right? And maybe they might say, okay, it's a 4-year-old house, we'll depreciate it. But 9 times out of 10, that selling agent's paying. And insurance is kind of like car insurance. You don't want to use it for something like an air conditioner, right? You got a $2,500 deductible and you get that on your record. It's not worth it. So one of our friends and colleagues bought an air conditioner. So that's the moral of that story.
Very good. Let's move into something a little bit different.
Yeah, man, Bob, run. Grow ups. I love it. Look how happy he is. He's just having a ball. Okay, here's the thing about grow ups. Okay, this is a question, and if we paused on this, and I'll bet you if you had people answer in that chat room, you get totally opposite answers. So now that marijuana is legal in Canada, do you need to disclose a former grow up? I'd love to take a minute and see what kind of answers people come up with. Okay, Steph's laughing because she's with Bob right now in the background. That's awesome. So, but that's the question. Do you need to disclose? So let's take a look.
It's yes or no, and it is a little behind, Marv, for us to see.
Are people answering right now?
But I think they are. And this is like, this whole segment's really intriguing because over the last 3 years, there's been a lot of changes to how we view, and even how the public's perception on the use of cannabis and marijuana and everything, right?
Yeah, and the viewpoint on this has changed a lot of times. So from what I can see on my screen, all of the answers so far are coming in saying yes, right?
Yeah, yes, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go. You ready? No. Believe it or not, you do not have to disclose a former grow up. However, it's a very gray area, and I want to walk you through. So if you're going to hang up, don't hang up now because you need to hear the rest of this, okay? There's more to it. So the answer is actually no, you don't. Let's take a look at the next slide and I'll explain.
Okay, one more question before we get to that. You ready?
Do sellers need to disclose the personal history of their house? Yes or no? Same question, right? Yes or no?
Yes or no? It might take some time. Should we get right to it, or what do you think?
Yeah, let's just get right to it.
Okay. I was somewhat surprised by this, actually.
Yeah, the answer once again is no. Nobody freak out. Everybody breathe. Everybody breathe. Let's take a look at the next part. Okay. So, do sellers need to disclose the personal history of their house? Okay. So the answer is no. And that's true even if the house carries some sort of psychological stigma, which is defined as a non-physical attribute that could trigger a negative emotional response for potential buyers. So a house that's been repaired, as an example, after being a grow-up, likely falls into this category. And believe it or not, from a legal perspective, the courts have upheld the seller's right not to disclose an identified stigma to prospective buyers. This is from the court's perspective, and this is all recent, okay? So let's go to the next one. So now you have to understand, a seller must disclose a latent physical defect. Latent means hidden, concealed, typically intentionally concealed, not visible, not super apparent. So the seller must disclose a latent physical defect that could make it unsafe for a buyer if the seller knows about them. So you can understand now, well, some people might be saying, well, if it was a grow up, wouldn't that be a latent physical defect? Wouldn't that maybe make the air quality in the house unsafe? The answer is, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But what everything you're going to see here is going to recommend is the next point, and that's the point of this. The seller should consult their real estate lawyer. Just go back for a second, sorry, Gary. Seller should consult their real estate lawyer when deciding whether or not to disclose that a house has been used for cannabis cultivation. Interesting. And when I say consult, I mean get it in writing. That's what we need to do, right? Because you have to understand, if you disclose this and the seller takes a hit financially, and their lawyer said, I would never have permitted you to disclose it had I known, you're opening yourself up for a lawsuit. If you don't disclose it, and you don't have something as a lawful direction from the seller and something substantive in writing from the lawyer, you're also opening yourself up for trouble. So you can see we're walking two sides of a fine line here with no definitive answer other than get it in writing from the seller's lawyer. What do I do? Let's keep going. Disclosure. So this is very interesting. And this is, as you can see, it's RICO, it's Ontario Code of Conduct. Sellers can lawfully direct their salesperson not to disclose the house's history of having cannabis cultivation to buyers. So RICO, their Ontario Code of Conduct states that realtors in Ontario cannot be untruthful if a buyer asks a direct question about the property. So if you're asked a question about the property from the buyer, or the seller is asked a question about the property from the buyer, they have to answer truthfully. But in the absence of a question, they don't have to disclose. And they can decline to answer and simply say the buyer needs to investigate the question themselves. That's from RICO's perspective. I'm sure the questions are going to all start pouring in. Let's go to the next one. So if you're representing a buyer, or if you are a buyer, what should you do? So definitely have a qualified home inspector that's going to examine the property. If opportunity allows for it, you should make the offer conditional on passing a home inspection. If it's a multiple offer situation, maybe you can get a home inspection done in advance of the offer date. And this is a really interesting one. Talk with neighbors and research the street address. The neighbors always know. And it's yakety, 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 yakety. There's nothing wrong with asking. You could ask as the realtor representing the buyers could ask. So ask lots of questions to the sellers and their representatives. Put the questions in writing. That's the way to do it, Gary.
Yeah, it is. And Google is a fantastic tool as well. I think every home that I've ever gone to look at or was interested in, I throw it into Google. It can tell you some pretty boring stuff, which is good, or some pretty enlightening stuff.
Yeah, which, absolutely. Let's go one step further with this now. So if you're a seller, what do, right? So, you know, basically, here's how it all works. So we can agree that if there was cannabis cultivation, and that's defined as more than 4 plants in a dwelling, it will have some kind of an effect on the valuation. We've had 2 grow ops this last month. That's what's prompted all of this, where we've been on both sides of the equation, which has been quite interesting. So again, you need an experienced real estate lawyer to provide instructions on what to do. They have to give us guidance. It has to be in writing before you disclose or not disclose. It's a very fine line. Go to the next one for me, please. So here's what RICO says. An MGO, or a marijuana grow operation, is basically defined as a building or a residence that's been converted to a plant nursery for the purpose of accommodating mass production, not personal production, of marijuana and cannabis. And there is something that you can obtain if you're representing a buyer or even a seller, and that's an environmental clearance certificate. So you can investigate the property. There's a list, a governmental list of marijuana grow operations that have been identified, and it goes on this list once it's been remediated and cleared. So that's one thing you can look for. What does RICO have to say? RICO says that sellers, this is quoted right from RICO, sellers would be wise to discuss with their real estate lawyer the disclosure of any knowledge about a property's history relating to its use as an MGO to prevent facing potential legal action. Again, pretty wishy-washy, right? The answer is consult their lawyer. So you're going to need a strong lawyer involved when you have one of these, and a strong paper trail, right? It's very important. Okay, next.
Yeah, no, that's good. That actually takes us to the end of these slides. And our conversation yesterday, we had talked about, you know, do you disclose? How much do you disclose? And then the whole element of having, you know, the lending environment. What are they looking at? Because they have their own viewpoints on this too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure if you had Charity on this part of the call, she'd be freaking out. Like, how, once it's disclosed in an agreement, how do they get funding? I mean, that came up in one of the cases we dealt with this month as well. Like, how do you do that? And I see questions here. So one of the things that OREA is lobbying for right now is they'd like to have it changed so that condos and apartments and smaller spaces, the legal limit for personal growth is 1 plant, not 4. And they're asking for clear direction because they know that we're in a bit of a conundrum right now. We're walking that fine line between disclosure and non-disclosure. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is very interesting because we're starting to see more of this. And as we said kind of at the top of the segment, was the fact that socially, I think socially and even here locally in York region or wherever we happen to be trading, it has less of a stigma from a use perspective.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it definitely interesting times with what this is, you know, rolling out to be, and how do we navigate through it for sure.
Right.
For sure. Very good. So as always, reach out to the broker hotline. There's the number there. Of course, you can talk to any one of these amazing individuals, Marvin, Andrew, Colin, Wayne, Michael, and now, of course, Christine. And whenever you have a question that is in regards to a purchase, a sale agreement, a clause, a condition, you wanted to run an idea by one of our brokers here, please do so, because I can tell you, Marvin and Christine and the others here would much rather have the question than try and fix it at a later date.
For sure.
Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Marv, I'll leave you on the screen because we're going to fly right into the market stats. Of course, if you're within our cappers group, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we host a great morning power up where we typically will talk about some of the wins for the day or for the week, and also kind of discuss a short little John Maxwell video. And it is spurred on some amazing conversations. And we got to see a lot of people's viewpoints on that. And it's a great way to start your day and stay connected with your colleagues as well. Very good. Okay, market stats, my friend.
All right, here we go. I'm going to whip through them, but there's some very interesting and surprising stats, right? So this is for all of TREB year to date. So January to the end of May 2021, sold versus asked Keller Williams in first position for the entire Toronto Real Estate Board at 110.42%. All the way down the scale, they're all impressive numbers. The lowest end of the scale is at 105%. So you can see that in May, the numbers, or at least the way we're selling, is still very strong, right? Days on market, decimal points, I don't know, I guess they only count when they're in our favor, but we're basically tied for first on days on market for all of TREB at 10.6 days. And again, you know, I would suggest that all of these numbers, which go down to 16 days, you have to factor in that there's a lot of offers being held for 5-7 days or 5 business days. So these numbers are more like something like 5 to 11 days, I would suggest, as the real true numbers. Let's take a look at this. Is very interesting, and it might surprise a lot of you. We'll pause on this one a little bit. This is market share for new market year to date. So we maintain our first position at 15.46% of the market. Right Home Realty second, Century 21, then Main Street Realty, then Remax, Sutton Group, and Home Life. Interesting, right? All others are down there combined for 37.81%. Let's take a look at the next one. Sold versus asked in new market, we are second at 107.53%. You can see again, ranging from 109 down to 105, still vibrant. People are paying over ask.
Marv, if I may, that might be a clearer indication of the actual market valuation. Because if we looked on the previous slide, Remax had very little of the market share, and then KW, Right at Home Main Street, had more of the market share, right? So there's a better sampling of those numbers.
Yeah, I think the percentage of sold versus asked gives greater insight into what's happening. Because whether you have one listing or you have 100, if these numbers all average out the way that they do, you can see what's actually happening in the market. So I would agree. Days on market, well, we're somewhere about 2/3 of the way down the list. And again, we show everything, good, bad, and different. There's nothing to hide. It is the market, right? So days on market, new market, ranging from 7.2 days down to 17.8. We're sitting at 12.9. Once again, I would suggest 12.9 is probably more like 5.9 when you factor in holding offers. So, okay, let's move along to Aurora. Sold versus asked. Almost a dead heat at 108% of asking. That KW sign probably deserves to be one below, but it's still all good. Right down to 98% at the bottom of the graph. But you can see it's pretty clear indicator of what's happening in Aurora. So we're at 108.17% of asking. That's amazing. This is the actual market share in Aurora. And it's been very interesting all year because there's been 4 companies that have basically dominated the market. So you can see where they all are. We're at 18.48%. And when you, even with those 4 there, you can see all others only account for 8.14% of the market. So Aurora is very listing-based, community-based driven. So that's pretty amazing. Mary's pointed out too that all these stats are already available for you on my KWRC. So that's awesome. Days on market in Aurora, we are first at 8.2 days on market, going all the way down to 17.8. Thank you very much, Gary and Mary, for the information on where you can find the stats. Amazing, 8.2 days on market. So now we're going to go to Georgina. Interesting, because Georgina encompasses a lot more than just Keswick, as you know. So this is market share. We are in 3rd position there at 5.88% of the market. What's very interesting about Georgina, it's other than what you would think, is the bottom. So all others combine for 62.99% of the market. So it's a very transient listing market in Georgina. And when 5.88% is good enough for 3rd, it tells you that, right? But that's what it is. Sold versus asked, we're at 107.4% of asking. And in Georgina, that's only good enough to be just below the middle of the pack. So Georgina is getting some big numbers. And I think that that's something that people in Georgina should be talking about, right? This is a great time to sell your home when the lowest end of the scale is averaging 103.77%. It's good timing for sellers, for sure. Moving along to East Gwillimbury, same thing. Look at those numbers. We're at about 110% of asking, and that's good enough to be in the middle of the pack. So I think what's happening is people are maybe seeing pricing in Newmarket and Aurora being a little bit prohibitive. And what this is telling me is it's pushing people to go a little bit further north into East Gwillimbury and into Georgina, based on what you can see with those numbers. Days on market, East Gwill, we are first at 4.9 days on market. And again, if I was taking a listing up there, I would show that stat with the understanding that days on market is a direct correlation to price, right? The faster you sell, typically the more money you sell for. Okay, BWG, Bradford West Gwillimbury, at 108%. We are second, Gary, in sold versus asked. But look what's happening. This holds to reason with what I just said. It's indicating to me that the prices in Newmarket and Aurora are pushing people to the north a little bit. Those are big numbers, right? Days on market, we are first in Bradford West Gwillimbury, averaging 4 days on market, which is kind of awesome as well.
Awesome.
So there you go.
Moving on to the next slides, we're going to celebrate some of our top teams in the industry and agents here. I love this stuff here, Mark.
It's pretty amazing. So we started doing this last month, where we look at how are our guys actually doing as individuals or teams in the communities, and it's very I don't want to use the word surprising, but very enlightening. That's probably the right word to use. Let's take a look at Aurora. And all of these are based on closed units. Marion Carconi is number 2 in all of Aurora for units. Michael Tuff is number 3. Wasim Jara is number 5. Vincent Bongard's number 7. Kirby Chan & Co.'s number 8. Colin Campbell and his team's number 13. Stephanie Sauve's tied for number 15. I mean, that's quite amazing, right? And that's not the biggest office. I mean, we could use more realtors in Aurora, but man, we're outperforming. There's no doubt about it. So congratulations to everybody on the list, Gary.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving to Newmarket.
Let's take a look. Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Same kind of thing. Volpe Alcorn's number 3. Stuart Madden's tied for number 8. Paul Ireland's tied for number 12. And Michelle Turzis is also tied for number 12. And Wayne Clements is tied for number 13. I mean, oh, sorry. And Blaha Booten in there tied at 20. We did the top 20, right? That's amazing. Again, we got 6 more of our teams or people in the top 20 in Newmarket, right? Georgina, let's take a look there too. We got Paroff team at number 3. We got Volpe Alcorn tied for number 12. Pretty amazing. East Gwillimbury. Volpe Alcorn tied for number 3. And Colin Campbell tied for number 13. And Stuart Madden said, I'm in there too, also tied for number 13 in East Gwill. And Mike Russo said, hey, don't forget about me. I'm in the studio, but I'm still selling. I'm tied for 16 with Vincent Bongard. So you guys should feel very proud of yourselves, because this is quite an accomplishment. We're changing the game, and the results are there. You know what I mean? Like, we don't candy coat it. The statistics are there to back it all up. Congratulations to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I apologize, Wasim. I apologize.
If he didn't have like his family cook some great food and deliver it to me, I'm not going to mention that he was tied for 16 in East Gwill. I didn't get anything, but you still snuck him in there because, yeah, man, his mom can cook. So there you go.
Yeah,
great job, everybody. Congrats.
Absolutely. And Colin says great job as well to everybody. It's just an awesome reflection of our entire brokerage here, Marv. Yeah. I think that's a great way to sum it up. This is just great to see these names lead those local markets there. It's absolutely fantastic because, you know, we don't have an office in some of these locations, right? And right. Here we are leading in that area. Fantastic.
Yeah, and to the areas to the north, you know, like where Terry Hastings, team is as an example, or Tracy, who's recently joined us in her team, I'll bet you we would see amazing stats. Yeah, number 1, right? So, you know, it's a big congratulations to all of you. It doesn't go unrecognized. We appreciate being in business with you, and we hope we're bringing you immense value. I love what the lawyer Mark said at the beginning. Like, he's been on other team meetings. He hasn't seen anything like this. Gary, you do an amazing job at putting this together. Like, it's phenomenal. It's professionally produced. I think it's jam-packed of info. It's an hour and a half of crazy busy stuff. So thank you for that. It's awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, very good. We're going to move in. I know we're over time, but I did promise we would do this, and I'll do it at a very high level, and we'll have a much more in-depth conversation around it, most likely in the fall when we're looking to book some in-person training, as well as we get to open up the brokers to our agents as well. And what I'm going to share with you real quick is a spreadsheet that I would use in order to help navigate, looking at, I'm trying to share my screen here. I'm waiting for my window to pop open. Helping to navigate the purchase of investment properties so I could advise myself as a buyer and also our client. So this form will be available for download. I've used it for probably 10 plus years now. And looking at it, you might think to yourself, wow, this is a lot of information. However, let me break it down really quickly if I can, so you know what to look at. Every yellow cell, you can change that number. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you exactly what it is. So usually I analyze properties, and I know that Colin would do the same thing, and perhaps Marv does too, based on a 5-year pro forma. That typically gives us enough time for the property, A, to appreciate, B, that's typically the type of mortgage product I would buy or take for the property, and it just gives us a nice, well-rounded look at it. But if you can change that number in there to 10, 20, 200 if you wanted. And anyways, here's the purchase price. You would enter in the purchase price here, the loan to value of the property. Obviously, as an investment property, typically the minimum we can put down is 80%, but that needs to change. You can change it to 60%. Amortization, you could change from 20 to 25, any number you want in there. We'll just leave it as is. What I love about it, though, is it automatically tells me how much I need to come up on closing to purchase this property by using these numbers right here. I already know I need $150,000 down payment. It figures out the land transfer tax outside of Toronto, so it doesn't do the double. You'd have to do some math there yourselves, but you can enter in your own legal costs here. Reserve fund, that's something that I always look at, and I like to include a reserve fund when I'm buying an investment property. How I calculate it is typically 2 months of my gross rent, and that's just that rainy day fund. Again, we'll have a much deeper conversation about it. You can input your own inspection and appraisal costs here, renovations, if there are any, and of course, any other. And I know at the end of the day, I need approximately $181,000 to close on this $750,000 property. Now let's take it a step further, right? Because we want to analyze whether or not this should be a property that we continue to look at from a purchase and investment perspective. So the next screen, or the next segment here, our section, I should say, is our monthly cash flow. And you see a lot of red there. I know what you might be thinking, but I'm going to walk you through it, because red is typically you're in the hole, for instance, but let me just walk you through it. Again, any yellow cell we can change. So perhaps your monthly income, and for this scenario, is $3,500, but you could put any amount in there. And then we can put in our mortgage information here at 3.25% is just what this one's put in at. There's a mortgage calculator in the background already doing everything from the term, the length, and it figures it all out for us. Your yearly property taxes, insurance, hydro, gas, you could put it all in there. Perhaps it's a single family home and you're not paying for hydro, gas, or any of the utilities. You could simply just delete those numbers, and of course that gets reflected everywhere. Any other monthly bills or yearly bills, you could put it in there as well. I always like to include a maintenance budget as well, because I've never bought a house that I have never had to do maintenance on. And if that's out there, I want to know about it. And then of course, property management. And again, you can change these fees if it's an older home, perhaps that maintenance percentage or budget is higher as opposed to a newer home. And you can see here that on a monthly perspective, if I bring in $3,500 in revenue or rents, it's actually costing me an additional $518 on this specific scenario. I don't want you to get hung up about that. I just want you to see the big picture. I'll circle back to that in a moment. Here's, of course, the last column is our 5-year numbers, what we would typically budget over 5 years. Again, this is a very high level view of analyzing properties. Now, let's fast forward 5 years, and I want to see what this would look like in 5 years from now. And I'm going to suggest that the property I purchased, maybe it's Newmarket, Barrie, doesn't matter where it is, perhaps I feel comfortable with that property appreciating at 5% a year. And some years we know it's much higher, and other years maybe it's a little bit flat. But over 5 years, I feel confident that that is a good conservative number. And you could change that. If you really wanted to be really conservative, you could change that to even a 3%, any number. You can make that happen there and analyze it. After repair value. So let me explain that. I purchased the property at $750,000, and after repair value typically means I go in and buy a property at that price. I'm going to do additional updates to it or renovations to it. I'm just keeping it really simple for today's example. So renovations, perhaps I had to go paint the units or what have you. I had to invest another $10,000 to keep it very simple. I just put it in at $760,000, but I can tell you, if I'm going to do renovations to a property, and I bet you Marvin's shaking his head yes, and many others too. You want to see a better return than just a 1-for-1. You want to double or triple that from that perspective for sure. However, following through with this conversation in this segment here, I know in 5 years, based at 5% appreciation on $760,000, that takes us to just shy of $970,000. Already the spreadsheet works out my mortgage pay down. So there's $515,000 in a mortgage balance. And if I look up here, we started with a $600,000 mortgage balance. So we actually got to pay that down, approximately $85,000. And I'm assuming I'm selling the property because that's how we're going to analyze this. I got legal costs to close the property, less my total initial investment, less selling it through a realtor with HST on the 5% that we charge, and that leaves with $217,000 of profit from that perspective. Now, if you recall, our monthly was not in the profit, right? We were in the red. Clearly in the red. So let's look at this from this perspective here down. This is where it's going to talk to us and show us the ROI over 5 years. Now we know that the lawyer just gave us a check for $217,000. That's always a good day. However, it has cost us, or we've had to invest another $31,000 over the 5 years to help that property along the way. So if you take $31,000 away from 217, that leaves us with $186,000. So again, I'm going through this really fast, but I just want to show you the capability of this spreadsheet. And you could look over here. This is really what I want us to focus on, is the total ROI on this property over 5 years is 102% over 5 years from this property investment. Sure, there's other parameters and there's other things that can happen to the property, but looking at it, that's what I would look at. Simple math tells us that's 20% ROI every year, but over 5 years, it's 102%. And maybe the question is, I had to invest another $31,000 along the way in order to get that $186,000 investment. We can talk much more about that at a later date. And I wanted to show you the spreadsheet because I'm asked maybe once a month for some sort of sheet like this. And I thought it was in due time and highly appropriate that I share the sheet with everybody. And it's available for download. Please use it. Always go over your numbers. And if you have to have an accountant review the numbers, absolutely. If you're giving it to your clients, for sure. The great thing about spreadsheets is this: you can put any number in there. The terrible thing about spreadsheets is this: you can put any number in there to help tell your story. So be careful with that. And I urge you to, stick with very conservative numbers when looking at something like this. And I know a lot of investors out there will do it like this, and then they'll do it with the pen and paper because it's much harder to change your notes as opposed it is to using a spreadsheet like this. Very good. Very good. Where can we find this spreadsheet? That is a great question, Tim Cap. Let me just change the screen sharing here, and I'll put up the link so you can see it. And that is right here. Share screen, and we are going to do that right here. There we go. And the link to download that is, there you see it right there, gmrealty.ca/performa. That'll just download that spreadsheet. And please, please, please make sure that you educate your clients using it, but also make them very well aware of this. This spreadsheet, have them go over it and make sure that they understand it. Make sure you understand it as well. This is not, I can tell you that, there's been a few properties that I have bought over the years, and it has worked out perfectly to these exact numbers, right? Other properties I've bought, things happen along the way that sometimes we don't anticipate, or the market goes up much faster than we anticipate, or what have you. But this is a great way to look at a property really quickly, and also to educate yourselves for sure. Marv's got a good point here. Marv, do you mind if I bring you on screen for a moment as well?
That's great.
And
sure.
I know you're writing some notes into the sheet there, and instead of me saying that, we should probably hear it from you.
Well, I just said well done to you, because here's what I've observed. It used to be years ago, Gary, that people would look to see if they would have positive cash flow. And then even neutral, can they break even? But they're missing the big picture, and you just demonstrated it the best I have ever seen. So here's the deal, guys. Prices of houses have gone up at a faster rate than rents, even though it's a very brisk rental market. So eventually the equation gets much more difficult to have rents carry the entire carrying cost of the property. But you just showed 108 or something like that % ROI. Like in 5 years, you're doubling your investment. Where are you going to ever do that? So they're missing the big picture when they evaluate. Almost every building or property that I've purchased in the last number of years hasn't had that positive, or it's been very close, or even I've had to supplement. But I can assure you it's worth it for the exact reason you just showed. That was the best explanation I've ever seen. So that's what I want everybody to talk to their clients about. And as we're building wealth for ourselves through real estate, consider that. So maybe, okay, if you're supplementing by $500 a month or whatever the thing is, that also means you're not paying any tax, right? So now you've got this investment for 5 years. You're not paying any tax on the revenue. And yeah, you're going to have capital gains like everybody else, and that's okay. I'll pay tax to make money. You know what I mean? That is a great explanation. So thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts on that.
Well, and I appreciate that too. And the other way to look at this as well. So in this example, it was $518 a month. Right? Or just the $31,000 on the year. $518 a month. Perhaps you or your client is already investing that into a vehicle somewhere, and they're not getting that 20% ROI or 100% ROI, right? And it's all about educating our clients, right, Marvin, and educating ourselves. And if you can show them a way to take maybe their 3, 5, 6% ROI that $518 is producing into 20%, now you're looking like the expert, right?
Exactly. See, the piece that's missing when we talk to them is we stop when it comes to here's what you're going to get monthly in rent, and here's what it's going to cost you for the property. And all they think is, okay, so I got to put even more money down to make this neutral or positive. They're missing the end game, which is year 5, the end of year 5. You've demonstrated that better than anyone I've ever seen. That is exactly what you need to focus on. It's who cares about the monthly? And maybe what it means, if they don't want the burden of the monthly supplement, maybe they set aside $20,000 or $30,000 to offset the differential over the 5-year term of the mortgage. But that's what they got to look at. At the end, they are doubling their money. 20% ROI annually. It's incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my friends, thank you, Marvin, for that. And that brings us to the end of this June meeting. And we look forward to seeing everybody coming into August and, of course, into fall when we get to, be around people. That's the most exciting piece here. There will be an email coming out either later this evening or first thing tomorrow morning with our training calendar. There's some amazing things that's happening. I know, Marv, you're taking part in some of it as well.
Yeah.
And from a nationwide perspective, all around this, right? Generating wealth.
That's right. Yeah, from Newfoundland, of all places, I'll be broadcasting. So there you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we thank everybody for being here with us this afternoon. Stay well, be safe, and keep doing the amazing things that you have already been doing. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see everybody in the office real soon. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.